All right. Hello, hello. This is Abel Pacheco, your host at the Five Talents Podcast. We are super excited, as always, to talk to another amazing guest, Mr. Dan Sheeks. If you don't know this individual and his name, go Google him. Look at one of the best guides for teenagers, a teenager's guide to achieving early financial independence. So if you have some young ones that you're trying to, coach up, train up, guide in this way, he wrote this book. It's called First to a Million, and it's really tailored and designed for the younger folks to achieve financial freedom. So what a great guest I thought to have on our show. And Dan, thank you very much for joining, man. How's everything going?
Everything's going great. Everything is going great, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I think we're gonna have a great conversation. Me and Dan talked a little bit before. We've got some good things to talk about. He has an amazing journey from being a teacher, teaching business courses, financial independence courses, and him and his wife are real estate investors in multiple single family residential homes, 20 plus properties, and now they're moving into commercial as well. So excited to have him as a guest. But Dan, let me turn it over to you for a moment. In your own words, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do, and we'll start a great conversation here, man.
Sounds good. Thanks. The kind of short bio version is, I'm married, and my wife and I have a 2-year-old son. We live in just outside Denver, Colorado. My main gig is I am a high school business teacher. I've been doing that for 20 years, and I've taught classes like entrepreneurship, personal finance, marketing, some computer classes, stuff like that. And I love my job. It's great. And I love working with young people as well. My wife and I started investing in real estate about 6 or 7 years ago. Actually, my wife was doing a little bit of real estate investing before that. We met about 7 years ago. We also found the early financial independence movement about that same time. So we went all in. Things have gone well, not perfectly, but well. And so as I sit here today, my wife is retired from teaching, and I'm actually semi-retired. I teach part-time now. I've written the book First to a Million that you mentioned. There's also a workbook that goes with it, both published by BRRRR. And I have an online community called Sheeks Freaks for Gen Z, which is really 15 to 25. We actually have a 26 and a 27-year-old in there as well. So young people who are interested in any of this stuff, it's an online community for them to meet other young people. And that's about it.
All right, man. What a great guest. I'm excited to have you, bro. So I've done a lot of work, a lot of time, went into writing a book. Let me, I want to hit on it. I want to discuss it. I want to talk about some of those things, but just so our listeners and our audience have an idea, well, I want to get to know you a little bit as well, man. So you're doing a lot of real estate investing. Sounds like over the last 6+ years. Your wife did some previously, and what got you into as you say it, the financial independence movement? What got you into the investing? What got you into this world? I mean, back in the day, were your parents real estate investors? Were they investment savvy? Did you come from money? Do you not? Just give us any bit of background from the start, man, that we can get an idea.
Sure. Yeah. My background is pretty boring. I grew up in Iowa, in a lower middle class family. So we did not have a lot of money. We were doing fine. My parents were not entrepreneurs. They were not real estate investors. I've always been okay with money. I took an accounting class in high school that helped me just learn the basics about personal finance, but I really wasn't smart about personal finance until I got much older and learned, through trial and error, which is what most people have to do. You kind of get out there and you make a lot of mistakes and you figure it out eventually, maybe in your 30s, perhaps. So that was kind of my story. When I really started to pay attention to early financial independence, that movement and real estate investing, again, was when I met my wife. Let's say, it was about 7 years ago. She had just found the BRRRR community. and she had a couple properties. I actually had one at the time, one rental property. She had a couple, and at the same time, we found the Choose FI community as well. And so we just went down that rabbit hole together. And thankfully, we are very similar around our mindset with money. And, to be married to someone who thinks and behaves the same way you do around money, that's a huge advantage. So I'm grateful for that. But we both kind of just,
you got lucky.
I did.
That's great. And we are very fortunate, as I have my wife is very similar, very like-minded, very like, let's go learn about it. Let's go figure out how to do it. And it wasn't always the case, but now it's like, man, let's go get it. So we're both in alignment. And I know some husband and wives are not so lucky, right?
I agree. I think that I tell the young people I work with and in my classroom, I'm not able to give the best dating advice, and you shouldn't take all of your wisdom from me. But one thing I can say is you do need to talk about money before you decide to get married, and make sure that you are at least somewhat on the same page when it comes to finances. Yeah. Agreed.
There's while we're here, there's a podcast by Ramit Sethi. I don't know if you've heard that, and I think it's called How to Become Rich with Ramit, and he interviews married couples, and he asks them about their finances and digs in, and you hear all this crazy stuff. Anyways, it's for those listeners that are there, it's another good podcast to follow, especially if you're married couple and you maybe don't have a significant other that completely agrees on that. It's a good one. But sorry to divert here. So Dan, so that's kind of, where you're at, at this point, and kind of getting to that. So you have been a teacher for the last 20 years. What you always wanted to teach? Is that something you just kind of fell into, or deep desire, passion, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I didn't always want to be. Actually, when I was in college, I was a business major, and I had friends that were, had different majors, and some of my friends were in college to become teachers, and I made fun of them back then. I thought, it's like, why do you want to go to college, get a degree, and make no money and spend all day with kids? That sounds awful. And back then it did sound awful, but I got my business degree, and I got out in the real world, and I think I matured and just realized that giving back and helping and making a difference, having a very rewarding job became important to me. So I talked to some of my teacher friends, and they, I actually didn't know that you could teach business, and specifically marketing, in high school. Marketing is what I've mostly taught in my career. So once I found out that those classes existed in high school, I decided to go back, got my teaching license, and started. I started teaching at age 29. So, yeah, I was not right out of college. It was not my first choice, but it was a great choice. I've loved every minute of being a teacher.
Yeah, and what a great time. As we record this, May 25th of 2023, we went to my daughter's preschool, pre-K graduation, and all the graduation balloons, and everybody's excited. And I go, well, dang, Dan, you're about to have a couple months off, bro. Enjoy the summer vacation like the rest of the kids. My daughter's excited, so what a great time, right?
Yeah, it is a good time to be a teacher. Yes, right, and right around the end of May, it's a good time. Yep.
Right on, man. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about you, and I really appreciate you sharing some of the personal stuff. So you have invested in about 20 single-family residential properties. You and your wife manages them. Man, how did that happen in 6 years? How did that happen so quickly and started here?
Yeah, it was a journey for sure. So when we met 7 years ago, I think I said my wife had a couple properties. I had one. And we just started learning through the Bigger Pockets community, their podcasts, their books, their forums and stuff. We started learning a lot more about real estate investing and went all in. And so we have our portfolio today. I think we have 19 units or doors. So that does include some small multifamily. We have a fourplex, we have a triplex, we have a duplex. Also includes mostly, some single family obviously in there, and some short-term rentals, some Airbnb. We have 2 properties that are Airbnb full-time, and then some out of state. We have 3 single families in Michigan, and we BRRRR'd all those as well. So we kind of, we didn't stick to any specific strategy. Like I said, we have short-term rentals, we have long-term rentals, we have BRRRRs, we have out of state, we have small multifamily, and we have single family. So we didn't really stick to any strategy. We just kind of tried a little bit of all of those, and some of them worked well, some of them worked okay. None of them were big failures, but my wife manages basically all of those properties, all of the ones that are in Colorado, which is all but 3. My wife manages those. The ones in Colorado, we have a property manager for, but my wife manages that person. So I should say my wife, she retired from teaching a couple years ago. She was a full-time elementary school teacher, but once our real estate started taking off and we started making some passive income, she transitioned from teacher to becoming the person who manages our day-to-day real estate stuff. The big picture, big decisions, we definitely collaborate with, but she's managing the day-to-day.
Okay. I get it. We're peeling back the onion a little bit. And you mentioned something. You said, you know what? We finally decided to go all in. What does that mean? What was that discussion like originally, if you can remember back to it? And what does that mean? What you all in on what? Like how did that work?
I guess what I mean by all in is we decided to start living very frugally. We were never, neither one of us were spenders. We were more savers, but we definitely learned how to become more frugal and to increase our savings rate. For a while, we were saving upwards of 50% of our income and using the money we saved to buy more real estate and more investments. Instead of spending on, instead of investing in the stock market per se, or spending on an elevated lifestyle that we could have been doing, we wanted to save and invest in real estate and build that portfolio. So that's what we did.
Yeah, that's so awesome. To really hear. I think there was a lot of years earlier, in the professional career where we were making a good amount of money. Me and my wife were both working full time, and we're in tech. And a lot of the people I knew were making less than me. Number one, because I managed a lot of them, so I knew their income and salaries and bonuses and all this stuff, and I literally saw them. But they would drive, nicer cars, have nicer things, live in bigger houses, and I was like, okay, well, that's one route to go. The other route would be kind of like what Dan's mentioning, saving 50% of his income and then throwing it to invest. And that mindset to live, below the means and try to, not because you're penny pinching, not because you're miserly, not because you're hoarding. It's like, no, I need to figure out how to go put that money to work. Because if you don't figure out a way to get a piece of your income to work for you, then you're always going to have to work. And that's the big part of the financial independence theme, right? Is like figuring out how to go, maybe reduce some of the spend and go figure out how to invest more, right? So yeah, that's great. So on that mindset, as you do that, what were some of the other tactical steps maybe that you used and leveraged? You saved the money, and then when you said, I invested in various different things, can you give our listeners any tactical items that, hey, if you want to try to do that and go all in, here's some of the things that I recommend doing?
Yeah. Are you anything or more on the saving side, on the investing side?
Wherever you think you can provide some knowledge and wisdom as the expert, I don't want to hold you to or confine you to one specific spot. Yeah, whatever you think would be good.
Yeah, I think to keep it a little more general. So we definitely looked at how can we increase our income. In my book, I write about the 4 mechanisms of early financial independence. And number 1 is earn more. So my wife started a pretty successful side hustle back then. She still does it a little bit, but and that was she became a notary signing agent, which is very flexible. And before interest rates started going up, there was a lot of people refinancing and buying properties. So she would go out and have their paperwork for them, have them sign stuff at their house, and not a bad side hustle, honestly. So she was doing that. We had a couple other smaller side hustles. I started my own online community, which was generating a little bit of income. Once I published my books, they were generating some passive income. So we definitely looked at earning more. And there's so many different ways. I mean, if you just Google side hustles, there's thousands of different things you can do to earn more money. Even if you increase your income $500 a month, hopefully more, but $500 a month for an adult can go a long way. So that was the one piece. The second mechanism I talk about is spending less. So we definitely looked at how can we spend less as a family. And at that point, our son is 2. So when we were going through most of this, we had no kids, which, that helps to decrease spending when you don't have the kids.
Spend helps. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we, the largest expense most people have is their living expense. So we lived in a small apartment for a while. Then we bought a condo, a 2-bedroom condo that we lived in for a while. Then we actually moved into the house we're in now, which is a 3-bedroom house that was a rental. And then we transitioned it into our primary residence. And by the way, we rent out our basement. So one of the bedrooms is in our basement with a bathroom, and we rent that out to a middle-aged professional woman. She's awesome. We've been doing that for, 4 or 5 years now. We've had 4 or 5 different tenants rent out our bedroom, and that makes us an extra almost $1,000 a month to have someone using that space downstairs that we would never use.
Yeah.
So that was increasing income, right? And we just paid a little bit more attention about how we spent money around food and transportation. We recently downgraded. We used to have, we each had our own car. Now we are a 1-car family. So that drastically decreases our transportation expenses as far as depreciation, gas, insurance, registration, all that stuff. So you combine those two things. If you're increasing your income and decreasing your expenses, that savings rate grows pretty fast. And that was key for us.
All right. That's awesome. Well, while you're staying on the path, man, what was number 3 and 4, right? So we got, if you're taking notes, number 1, increase your income. So time to earn more, figure out a way to do it. And Dan provides a couple different ways, and, Googling side hustles are great. Number 2, spend less, right? Reduce your expenses. And for him as a family man, now he sees the expenses a little higher with the little one, but either way, you can figure out a way to reduce your spend on your house, on your cars, your vehicles, things like that. So number 3, number 4?
3 would be save the difference. So when you are increasing that savings rate, saving hopefully 20, 30, 40% or more of your income, you have to save it. You have to put it somewhere temporarily.
And then for a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And then step 4 is to invest those savings wisely. And that can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be real estate, because real estate investing, I don't think, is for everybody. It could just be simply buying index funds, which I think is, the 2 main ways that early financial independence seekers are investing. The tried and true ways are real estate and index funds, which we do both as well. We're more on the real estate side, but we do invest in index funds. And so if you do those 4 steps and you do it over a period of time, you're going to be on your way to early financial independence.
I love it. Yeah. Simple 4-step. You got to save the difference, and you got to invest the difference wisely. Something, similar background was when I was little, my dad was a sales guy and a leader. I had various different roles, a lot of sales kind of acumen that I learned from him. And it was always increase income. Look, here's how to look at the number of deals in the pipeline. Here's the number of opportunities. Here's a close rate. And just kind of remember those things as I was older. The spend less, we were middle income. He probably made a little bit more, but we had a decent, living, very comfortable, very nice, but not overspending. And then he showed me how to save. And I remember when I was little, before we had a bank account, or they had, let kids have bank accounts or whatever. He was like, hey, stash some of the money aside. The 4th one, though, that was one that he never said it explicitly. Here's how to invest. He didn't show me how to invest in stock, or I don't know if he did that, back then. But it was like, hey, we're moving from one house to another, and we're renting out the first one. And so consciously, subconsciously, it was like, oh, that was the invest. And I think that was for me when I was younger. trying to figure out how to do the real estate thing. So yeah, wise 4 steps, brother.
Cool. Yeah.
Wise 4. So, transitioning, you are in 20 different, or 19 is 20 was different properties that you have today. And now what I think I heard earlier was there's a transition or maybe a little bit of a pivot as you learn more, maybe are more comfortable, feel more comfortable with real estate in general, taking risk, putting a little bit more out there on the line. It sounds like you have more income coming in, and now you're trying to invest in a different asset class of real estate. That's triple net lease commercial properties. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to tell us what you're doing now or how you're pivoting and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what the point where we're at now, my wife and I, with our son as well, we're both in our 40s. We're actively trying to spend more time with our son. That's kind of our why-fi, and that's our main goal right now. And it's, we have success doing that. And, until he starts school, because he's 2 right now. So we really want to be home as much as we can to spend these years with him, because you don't get that time back. And for most people, family is number one, right? So that's why my wife retired a couple years ago. And that's why I went part-time this year, because our real estate, the passive income from our real estate can pay our bills. So, I said we were saving 50% of our income. Right now, we're actually kind of breaking even. The income from all of our different revenue streams pays our bills, and then that's it. We're currently not saving and investing more, but we're both home a lot with our son, and we don't need to do daycare, which saves a lot of money. And he's with us basically, and with grandma a little bit too, 24/7. So that has been very rewarding, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. But what we found is with our residential real estate portfolio that my wife manages, she's spending a lot of time doing that. Because when you get, to 10 plus properties, those little things that pop up out of nowhere start to add up, and you have to deal with them kind of sometimes right away. And so we made the decision that we wanted to transition from that residential investment strategy to more commercial and get into the triple net leases, where your tenant is really handling a lot of that stuff, and the property owner, us, we wouldn't be. So to make it much more passive, basically, because real estate's never 100% passive, but I think from what I'm told by commercial real estate investors, it's much more passive on the commercial side. So we are starting a strategy to exchange our residential real estate investments for commercial real estate investments, and we think that's going to take 3 to 5 years. But the goal is to make that transition and become have a more passive investment strategy there. Yeah,
sounds like a great strategy, man. I'm with you. I didn't get to 20 single family houses. I got to about 10. It's my max. But I was working full time. My wife was working full time, and then we had those 10 extra properties, and so that became a chore to manage after hours, because Monday through Friday, 8 to 6, I was at work, and then after, trying to find new deals and all that kind of stuff was a grind. But we did exchange like you did. We went from 8 to about 800 doors, transitioning from single family properties to multifamily commercial assets, and it was a mixture of initially not wanting to let them go, so we refinanced, pulled the equity out of them, and then invested the equity that we had into future multifamily commercial properties. And that was the 8 to 800. And then, over the last few years, we've grown. We're a little bit over about 1,200 doors, all in as general partners and active participants in the deal, and some more passive investments, et cetera. But that transition was refinance first, put it into. And then when the market got really hot in single family, we're like, oh, we should probably sell some of these. Boom, boom, boom. So we sold more of them. That became more of the doors. Looking back now, I go, son of a gun. Interest rates are now super high. I wish I would have kept some of these low interest rate 30-year loans, my best ones anyways, and maybe sold the dogs and just kept the best few favorites, but didn't work out that way. We transitioned 100% from single family to commercial. And we have a few triple net lease properties as well. Few that we've already gone full exit and that kind of stuff. So it's been a fun transition, man. What's your game plan, or what's the original thought process when you say transition? Is it refinance? You're going to try to sell one? Or are you going to try to keep everything you have and move from one property at a time? Or what's the mindset there?
Yeah. So our game plan is very different than what you did. And I don't know if our game plan is right or the right, it may not be the best strategy, but we are at this point, like I said, we're about simplifying and taking things off our plate. So we don't want to go from 8 to 800. As a matter of fact, we want to go from 20 to about 5.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the first transition or exchange that we're working on now is we have a fourplex here in the Denver metro area that has appreciated really well. We've owned that for about 6, 7 years. So we are under contract to sell that fourplex. And we're going to 1031 exchange it into a commercial property. So we'll avoid the tax hit. The properties that we're looking at, or the type of properties we're looking at on the commercial side to get into right now, are assisted living facilities, or ALFs, right? So we have a connection in our network, a guy that's been doing this for a while. So we're partnering with him to get into right now we're looking at a place, an existing property in Idaho. Now, we will own the building and the land, but we have nothing to do with running the business, because I don't know anything about running assisted living. So there is a business already operating in that property. The owner is just selling the building. And so we'll go in and hopefully buy that building and triple net lease. I think the lease that's currently there is like a 7 or 10 year lease. Like, it's pretty solid. And I don't see assisted living facilities going down in demand. If anything, they're going to go up with the baby boomer generation. So we're basically taking 4 units and transitioning into 1. We're also looking at, we have a duplex that we are, we're in talks right now with a potential buyer, an investor, to buy that duplex. We'll do the same thing. We'll take that equity from that exchange and buy a second piece of commercial real estate. And eventually we're going to be combining some of these, because our residential, some of it has some great equity and some of it doesn't, but we'll be combining some of those into 1. So I think, we haven't really talked about this, but I think the vision would be to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 commercial properties that are cash flowing well and do not require a lot of our attention.
Tax time will be more fun for you as well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
For those that don't have 10, 20 something properties, tax time is a fun time. EINs, LLCs, tax return, profit and loss, putting all the books together for all of them, making sure you're not missing any, and taxes and insurance payments. You're putting everything down and trying to do that. So Dan, I think a big fun part will be less LLCs. That's for sure. And for those that don't know, triple net lease, it's at triple net lease. You're not having to manage, as the owner, you don't have to manage insurance. You basically make the payment. You don't have to make a payment for taxes, and you don't have to manage any of the rehab, the repair, the responsibilities of a residential owner, where you do that when you lease it out. It's definitely not triple net lease. It's like, no, you're the owner, you pay for everything, right? Fix it. And they just want to rent, and that's it. Well, the opposite goes for most of the commercial properties. And it's very typical for all business owners when they're renting the property, when they want to renovate, make it new, make it fit their business model style, whether it's offices or walls or retail or whatever, they're doing that renovation, and they're taking care of like AC and the big ones there. And you're like, wow, okay, they pay for that. Taxes and insurance are no longer blips. My pro formas look a little different, as Dan will learn through the process too, man. It's income minus expenses, and that's your net operating income. Well, this is just income. Like expenses is like gone. You're like, wipe it off, right? So that'll be fun transition for you as well. And that should be great, man. Should be great.
That's our plan. And yet to be determined. So we'll see how it goes. It is a little scary, honestly, because this is a big shift for us.
Yeah.
I mean, any kind of real estate investing can be scary when you're dealing with that much capital and purchase prices that are in the millions. Now that we're on the real commercial side, purchase prices in the millions. It's scary. And so, but without risk, there is no reward. So we're gonna give it a shot, and we'll go one at a time and see how it goes.
Yeah. No, that's great. Let's talk about this a little bit more. I do want to talk about your book, though. Do you cover things like, the fear part of it, the trepidation to like move forward, the big, risk reward for somebody to like make the mental shift? Tell us a little bit about your book and what teenagers can expect from it. And I'm sure even the adults can probably learn more than a few things from it as well. But man, maybe tell us a little bit about it. And do you cover some of these topics? And
yeah, so I have had several adults read the book and tell me that they got a lot out of it. So the book, First to a Million, it's really meant as an introduction to the early financial independence community, strategies, mindset. And so but I did write the book for teenagers because that's the people I deal with every day. And the impetus for writing the book was I'm in my classroom starting to teach these strategies as I'm learning them over the last few years. But I thought, how can I reach more young people that outside of my classroom? That's why I started, I have a website, a community, and now a couple books to do exactly that. So the book covers a lot of different topics, everything from mindset, like you said, the entrepreneurial mindset. I do talk about fear and overcoming fear. I talk about frugality. I talk about entrepreneurship and side hustles. The four mechanisms that we talked about earlier, those are all covered in detail, definitely throughout the book. I do talk about real estate investing some, but it's not a real estate investing book per se. It's more of an early financial independence book. So I do talk about real estate a little bit, but I focus on the house hacking strategy, which I think is the best strategy for young people to get involved in real estate investing by far. It's not even close.
I wish I would have known that. We bought our first investment property in 2008. It was a single family house. We lived in it. Then we lived there. We moved to the next one and rented the first one out. But I was like, we were there. We should have just bought 4 doors and rented all 3. And then, but anyways, it is what it is.
Yeah. So the book is for anyone that's really wanting to learn more about early financial independence, which again, going back to real estate, I said, real estate investing is not for everybody. By the way, neither is early financial independence because it does require some sacrifice and a lot of work. I say in my book, the typical American dream pathway of working until you're 65 and then retiring, that's not wrong, but it's also not right. It's just one option of many. Yeah. And so there's a whole spectrum there of working until you're 65 or later. Some people work until the day they die, maybe in their 80s. Yeah. And the other end of the spectrum would be reaching financial independence, maybe in your mid to late 20s. That's kind of the other end of that spectrum. And there's everywhere in between. Yeah. I tell the reader and the students in my class, I can't tell you what the right path is for you. I can only tell you what the options are. And then you decide what's best for you and your goals. And by the way, know that those goals may change over time as well.
Yeah, agreed. I like the way you said that, right? It's not a right or a wrong way. It's just here are the many different options and what you choose. And then things are going to change over time. And as you say that, I remember being younger, working in my first, from age 16 to probably like 26. And I go, how can I retire as quickly as possible? I want to stop working. And then now in my early 40s, I go, I don't know if I'm actually going to stop working, or like I still want to do deals. I feel like I'm a deal guy. Like I love deals. I love closing. I love the sales part of it. I love, finding a new opportunity, a new investment. And I'm 40 something. I'm sure the deals or investments or future is going to be different in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now. And I don't see myself like stopping. but I definitely know that I don't want to do it every day from Monday to Friday, 8 to 6,
Yeah.
because I got to show up there. That's the difference. There's a difference. Right?
That's the difference. Most of the people I know, and
Yeah.
I've met a lot who have reached or are right about at early financial independence. It's not that they stop creating, stop doing. They work on their own terms, and they don't have to go to an office 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. No, some of them actually do because they really enjoy their job. And I kind of consider myself one of those people. So I still teach because I love it.
I love the summers.
And
Anyways,
I love
go ahead.
summers,
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I cut you off, man. I have a bad habit of that sometimes.
No, that was it. So it's just, it is a personal preference. There's nobody that should tell you how to live your life financially or otherwise. But I think there's a lot of value in having knowledge of the options. And right now, most people are only aware of the one option, which is work that W-2 job until you're 65 and then retire. And again, that's not wrong. It's not broken, but I think educating people, and for me, it's young people. That's my wheelhouse. Educating them about other options is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, congratulations and nice work, giving back and helping others, and especially the youth. It's a great opportunity. We didn't have financial classes, or we didn't have courses in marketing when we were younger, and there was no real estate degrees like there are in universities now. And there's different opportunities for people to learn, and I think the financial independence path, teaching people personal economics for their own self and the different options is a great opportunity to give back to the young folks, man. So awesome. Well, so Dan, thank you very much for taking a few minutes. If you have some listeners that are hearing this today and they want to reach out, like who do you actually want to reach out to you, and where should they be going to contact or get into your community?
Thanks, Farah. Yeah, a good question. So I really have three audiences. My main one is Gen Z, 15 to 25. They're the ones that wrote the book for. They're the ones that my community is for. They're the ones that I work with every day. But I also do a lot, of work and have content for parents of teens and other teachers who teach personal finance in that space. So 2 ways to get a hold of me or to learn more. One, I have my main website, which is SheeksFreaks.com. And that's kind of a funny name, but it rhymes and it's catchy. So my last name is Sheeks, SHEEKS, and then FREAKS, SheeksFreaks.com. Or anybody listening can send me an email, dan@SheeksFreaks.com, and let's chat.
All right. Very good. Well, I know we talked about a number of topics and really provided some great insight for the youth, for some adults as well, some real estate investing, some different mindsets. So I appreciate it. Is there any last, thoughts, any last words, any topics maybe you were hoping I asked about and I just didn't actually get to? Man, anything else you want to share? We'd love to give you a few minutes if you have some more.
I'd say just one thing. And so a little bit more about the community that I have. If one of your listeners knows of a Gen Zer, 15 to 25, who is highly interested in this type of stuff, because my community is really for that 5 or 10% of the most motivated young people who are motivated enough about their financial future to actually join a community, right? That's definitely the minority. The community is full of young people from across the country who are crushing their goals around personal finance and investing and real estate and entrepreneurship. And we have a couple, we usually have 2 or 3 Zoom calls every month where we get together. Sometimes we have expert guests on, sometimes we just chat about a certain topic. So if you know someone in that age, 15 to 25, who you think would be a good fit for the Sheeks Freaks community, definitely send me an email, let me know.
All right, there you go. Well, Dan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us. We appreciate it. And for all of our Five Talents podcast listeners, thank you very much as well. Your reviews, the continued downloads, we really appreciate it, and continue providing us feedback. If you have questions about investing, if you want to invest in some of the triple net lease deals or some of the multifamily deals that we're doing in the future, we're always open to talk to new investors. Our website is 5 talents, TALENTS.capital, 5talents.capital, and look forward to sharing a little bit more, some case studies and books and fun stuff there. Have a great day, and thank you very much for everything, Dan. We appreciate the opportunity, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.